Okay, so I'm going to mute that, and because we don't need to listen to that right now. So now we're going to start cracking into what these files are. Looks like we have, these are what was called polywaves. So these all came from a external recorder. It has multiple files in one wave file. Often it will be like a sound devices or a Nomad recording device that records ISO tracks. So what normally happens is there will be 2 tracks that will be the master mix that happens from the routing inside of the external recorder. They'll have ISO channels that are mixed up to the master channel, and usually those are like a left and right. And then below that usually will be the ISO tracks. This one looks like it's a little different, so I'm gonna have to kind of figure out what's going on here because this amplitude is higher than this guy. So here's a big tip though, like when you're going through your OMF to kind of solo these quickly. But if you go to options and you can change your solo mode, the latch or the XOR that cancels previous solo. When I'm going through this initially, I like to have this set to XOR. So what's going to happen is if I solo something new, it's going to cancel the last solo. So instead of having a bunch of tracks to start to be built up together being soloed, now it's going to deactivate that solo that I had and go back to whatever ones I just soloed. To see that, what I'll do is hit solo here.
Why did you and Daddy split up? I mean, I know that it was another woman, but...
Okay, so that's soloed. Now if I go to this track,
Well, I mean, an affair is normally a...
it's going to cancel the old solo.
I found your father's girlfriend to be a problem.
So that's nice. If I go the other way,
Why did you and Daddy split up? I mean, I know that it was another woman, but...
it's going to start soloing everything. So that's not what we want. So I'm going to change that back over. This is a really exciting how-to video, I know, but hopefully this is useful for somebody. Here's a shortcut, keyboard shortcut that I love to use. So if you have a track selected anywhere here, instead of having to hit this solo button, you can actually hit Shift S, and that will solo. The nice thing about that works good with the XOR setting in the solo mode is now I can select a new track and hit that solo button just by the shortcut. It doesn't do it when you select the name of the track, but whatever your cursor is clicked on. So say I want to listen to that, Shift S.
Why did you and Daddy...
I want to listen to this, Shift S.
I mean, I know that it was another...
This, Shift S.
Was that all?
Okay, so now we're going to start looking into see what these files are. A lot of them kind of look the same. Like these guys, if you just look at them, you can kind of see like these look like they're pretty similar. So I'm wondering if what happened is in the edit that these are the master track that should be on top, and this is an ISO track that should be down here with these others. One way to find out is to invert the phase on one of these channels that look the same. So I've got this little, just the simple EQ3 one band, which is like a default. So if I take this, put it on one of those tracks that I'm curious to see if these are identical files. I can listen to this, solo both of them. Then I can flip the phase on one of them and see how that audio completely disappears.
I mean, I know that it was another woman, but...
when I invert the phase.
Is that not enough?
So what that tells me is these are 2 files that are identical. So these, in fact, are the master files. Now, it looks like it could change back here, and I'm not sure why that is, because usually these are on top. But I'm just going to keep going through this and seeing. What this is doing is eliminating an option of, like, I don't need 2 copies of the same track to be sorting through as I'm going through trying to decide what audio files are the best. So I'm going to keep going through here, checking these. No audio. If I leave the phase alone, they're good.
You have the weight of...
So that's all the same.
You got...
So that's still the master. Let's keep going. Because sometimes in the edit, these tracks will be nudged around in Premiere Pro or Avid or whatever. They'll nudge these on different audio tracks. And so I just kind of want to check the whole thing to make sure that before I do anything to this other track, I want to make sure I'm not missing any options. So still nothing. Still nothing. And again, we're listening to these two tracks that are soloed together. So still not getting anything on any of these. That means these are identical. Now say these were different. So let me just, I'm going to change the amplitude of this one.
This stays between the two of us, you understand?
So all of a sudden the audio starts going through because I've changed the amplitude of one of the channels. But if I go back, reset it, it completely disappears. So that tells us that these are identical files. At this point, we've been going through everything so far has been identical. And as we get back further here, it looks like things have actually changed. So now, if we listen to these two tracks, which were identical here, now we're actually starting to hear some audio.
Can I help you find something? Yes.
Okay, we're still phase inverted,
For a book on training.
and things are starting to come through here.
I don't know yet. Just thinking about getting.
Our test worked. We found something that's different. So far, these are the master channels, so I want the master channels to be the same on this one. Looks like this one got nudged around somehow. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take these, shift click, I'm going to drag those down, and then I'm going to take this one that looked the same and drag that down. And now we're going to listen to see if we get anything. Nope. So if I phase invert that,
Find something? Yes. Hi. I was looking
hearing
for
stuff, phase inverted, it disappears. So I know for sure that we've got the same track. At that point, I know, since the sound devices, at that point I know since the sound devices has only one master track or one stereo track, I'm going to assume this is an ISO track. So I'm just going to drag this down here. Here's an important thing though. When I'm dragging stuff around in the OMF, I'm actually holding down, for Windows, it's the Windows key. What that does is instead of going back and forth, like say if I wasn't holding down the Windows key, and I try to move this, if I go very far, see how it's going like this, which is not good in movie audio. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hold down the Windows key, and now if I go up or down diagonal, it's going to lock that into place. So it kind of snaps it and make sure that it doesn't go forward or back. So those are all good. I'm going to go ahead and drag this guy down. Again, just make sure when you're dragging this that you don't drop it on top of something else, because at that point those files will be gone. Okay, so we found these guys are different.
Night, Justin.
I can see up here that these look the same, so I'm going to assume that these are the master tracks from the sound devices. So I'm going to drive this down into an ISO track and then move these guys here. All right, so we have identified our master track. I'm just going to move it to the bottom and mute it. So basically, I'm just kind of trying to narrow things down here so I know what I'm working with. These are all camera hop files that looks like there's no actual synced dialogue or synced audio, so I'm just going to work through that. Okay, so one of the important things, especially if I have got somebody else working through these and helping me with the organization of these files. In the OMF, what I want to see is something that's non-destructive. So at any point in the game, I can come back and say, this is something, maybe I need to look at these files one more time, something that maybe we missed. So I'm going to come back through and try and find, say I need to get maybe the lav instead of the boom. So that way nothing is deleted, and I can kind of see the history of what's been done. So there's ways that we can do that we can process these files, but make sure that we don't actually hurt the originals. Another way to do that is I can actually come in here, and instead of just working with this one OMF, I can actually come back into our folder where the original OMF was, and I can even bring that in again. So say if I drop that OMF again, I've got these 2 tracks down here highlighted, so I know that it's all going to drop down below this. And this is just kind of a safe way that you can do it. So instead of doing this, and really we could have done this at the beginning, but instead of doing this all in one OMF, I can actually pull in 2 copies of the OMF and then just set one aside that's just there forever. So now I've got this brand new OMF brought in, hasn't been touched. I'm going to select all those tracks. I'm going to color code them. What I like to do is give them the color code of none. And then right click on these if you got them all selected and make inactive. And then you can hide them. We aren't going to use the masters, so I'm going to hide and make those inactive. All right, now begins the fun part of deciding what we want to use. The best way for me to do this is to kind of get all the tracks close together, because we're going to be kind of going through all these pretty fast. And then I'm going to delete anything that's empty.